Pane information yatagashira iri kubuda ichitaura kuti Vice President Constantino Chiwenga vanga vakatarirwa mazuva ekubva musi wa1 January kusvika musi wa13. Zviri kunzi izvozvi varamba kubuda muofisi. Zviri kunzi vataura kuti ndichasvika musi wa20 Mohadi osvika obva apedzisa Emmerson Mnangagwa achiuya. Ndo nyaya tiri kugashira mhuri Zimbabwe. Hatisi kuziva kuti chii chaakuitika munyika yeZimbabwe. Ndo runyere kupera tiri kunzwa, ndo maspeculations ari kutendera, ndo rumor iri kutendera. Zviri kunzi VP Chiwenga varambira muofisi, vataura kuti Mohadi achatanga musi wa20. Zvenyu zvekuti musi wa13 zvokundipa 13 days kujaidzwa uko Emmerson akajaidzwa. Zviri kunzi hapatoshata, zviri kunzi vatsamwa VP nekuda kwezvinhu izvo. Zviri kunzi vazongobuda pachena vakati no, zvenyu izvi zve13 days ndezvenyu, ndiri kutonga kusvika musi wa20. Saka zvichitarisirwa kunzi uyo achatongo kubva musi wa20 iwoyo Mohadi kusvika apedza. Ndimo mamiriro zvaakaita. Saka zviri kureva kuti mazuva akatongwa naMohadi kubva musi wa23 kusvika musi wa31 achatangawo musi wa20 achibva apedzisa mwedzi Emmerson Mnangagwa achibva adzoka. Naizvozvo pane imwe nyaya zvekare zviri kunzi Emmerson Mnangagwa kuenda kwaakaita kuLivi hakusi kungoenda chete. Zviri kunzi anga achizama kuda kuronga kuplana kuti mhanyisane naVP Chiwenga, asi zvinhu zviri kunetsa ndezvekuti vakomana zviri kunzi vakazongotumira drone kuPreke Farm risina kunzwisisika ende paradha range risingaridhike. Saka ndo nyaya dziripo mhuri Zimbabwe. Ndichakusiyai makatirira kunyaya yaChief Murinye pamwe chete nemuridzi weRiverton. Nyaya yavo yange iri mudare nezuro yakanga yakagarwa dare nenyika yese yeZimbabwe paspace vachitaura. Saka tichakusiyai makatirira ikoko monzwa zvinhu zvakaitika, nekuti pane vanhu veikoko vainyatsotaura chokwadi chizere chiri panapa.
Nhasi tahwina UK Lotto, Euro Grand Chale, Euro Millions ya tototi hande tinovaka chikoro, totovaka chero patada. So long chifara nazvo totongovaka, even if it means kuti as part of our strategy vana vese vari munharaunda vari kuenda pachikoro, it's not enough.
Right.
That does
Saka,
so,
you know, Saka
mean
people,
that
people.
we are so comfortable kuti aiwa ngoma ndiyo toda kunatsonzwisa kuti okay, so chakavaka pakaita sei.
People we're saying Gutizo, the chief uyu complain overstepped. Is it a case of him overstepping, or is it a case of him stepping into a gap that was left,
So
by others?
I for me, I wouldn't want to necessarily paint the chief as a saint.
Right.
Right? Because and this is why I say maybe for us the citizens, it's just the perfect storm. It's just that this thing has erupted and it has highlighted an important issue for us. But the chief stated, could in the past, when he discovered it, he actually then find some head of cattle. Vamwe vakanzi takati 3 heads, vamwe vakanzi ngavatipe 2 heads, vamwe vakanzi ngavatipe 1 head. I mean, I don't know where he even put that cattle, but clearly that process is not good enough. Do you understand? If he was in good, if he was trying to do something good even back then, he should have put it in before the courts and said, I'd like to take this this establishment to court, because it's in my, which is what you and I should be able to do as well. It is in my area. I don't believe it has the licenses that are required. It is if it is disrupting, the life, or the livelihoods of the local community, or whatever reasons that you are raising those concerns, they should have been documented and put before the courts. But the fact that we can have a chief are not okay for now. Chimbondipai 3 heads of cattle tomboona. For now chimbopinzai vana vangu nevazukuru vangu nevazukuru vevazukuru vangu pachikoro ipapo for free. Tomboona. Then kana zvashata ndozofamba mangwana ndobloka road yechikoro, ndoti tabloka road yechikoro. So that is what I'm saying. Kuti it really just indicates the level of lawlessness, and us, we should not aim so low our own aspirations, particularly when it comes to our children. If we're going to be serious about anything, it's serious about our children. By now, we should be demanding even an audit, to say we want to see the audit that shows us which schools in the country have been licensed and are correctly registered, and what are the permutations that allow for a school, an establishment to be called a licensed school in Zimbabwe. What are the things? What is the criteria that they must meet? What does the Ministry of Education actually do? Because frankly, Nina, I've gone Mwararom, Mumakona, Muma avenues. We show not apa chikoro apa power. It's very so, and this is what is being highlighted by this situation here, is that
Mm.
there is a problem with the Ministry of Education. There is a serious problem. And that is what we need to focus on. The chief, I would like to know, good, okay, makazviona kuti zvakashata makambobva uku muchiti 3 heads of cattle, 2 heads of cattle. That actually shows good he is not qualified to take
Mm.
on that role. If that is what our system dictates, good, it is the role of the chief, then this case is showing us good the chief is not correctly qualified to undertake that role, because hazvaimbofanira kusvika apa zvasvika iko zvino.
Right. Yeah, vakaipa. Yeah, ndosaka ndatizopaye, this is not just about education, but it goes beyond that. There are so many issues that we can ventilate in terms of our discussion, and focusing on some of these things like the ones that you have highlighted today. Because when you're looking at this from when I'm looking at this and understanding it from your perspective, we are now beginning to be looking into the role of the government in terms of its oversight, because we know Kutizo, this is a school like mukoma nenge wabva kutaura vataura futi kuti kwavo kwakangoerekana kwanyuka, a school that occupied area iri set aside for kufudza mombe dzavo, and you are just waking up, you are finding people already putting foundation and erecting buildings, etc. So when we are looking at this, there's an aspect of regulation, there's an aspect of oversight, and then now we are having a chief, okay, with his flaws, with what the gentleman he said that he wanted this, he was okay with this, and you're pointing out there was one point where he find people. So what was the basis of finding those people? Did he just find them and said, "Good, okay, I'm finding you, but our Varuguvaka continue," or you will find them and ask them to stop, with this? There isn't much in terms of of that aspect. But when we are looking at his role now as a chief, his cultural role, or what he's supposed to be doing in the community, where he is, the welfare of that community. Because aside from saying Kutizo, not so many kids are going to that school, the majority of those kids are coming, from the outside. There is an aspect here, grazing land. What has happened to the people that were using those pastures to for the grazing purposes? Were they allocated another piece of land whereby they were told good achibaya huko imimi apa tatora apa chiendai munofudzira mombe dzenyu nenge kwakadaro uko kana kuita sekwera sei. Saka you are looking again at that aspect iyoyo yekuti community in terms of what it was using this land for, it has been taken away. Has there been a replacement? Ipapo, nobody really knows. We don't, really know Kutizo aspect here and yakadilwa I say. But anyway, thank you very much, and I appreciate.
Uncle Jet, can I clarify a few things that Chinai mentioned, which I think should not go unchallenged? But I
Okay.
can come back later if you want.
So do you want to do a pushback?
Yes, it's sort of like a pushback, and just to maybe clear a few assumptions that people have, which are at the risk of them becoming truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think a few things that needs clarity is this guy Arkuvaka Chikoro,
Uh-huh.
Kumsha Kwake. So he's got his own communal land, Ikoko. But
Right.
this communal land, it's not enough to build a school. Saka akachenda akachinoita sabhuku deal nasabhuku. Kuti, you know what, I'll build a
Mhm.
chikoro pamusha pangu, but handina sufficient land. Saka I'll grow into uku kwatenga tichita mafuro. And
Oh, Sakamafuraya, they are in his backyard.
it's like in his backyard. So he's now saying, Kuti, I will expand ndoenda kune this other communal area, which will then allow me to grow the school, and then ndovaita like this saboku deal. Saka vanhu vari kunzi vakafainwa nachief.
Hmm.
It's not the munhu aivaka chikoro. It is the sabuku deal, the sabuku akafacilitator the deal.
Yes.
Ndiye akafainwa kunzi ko iwewe, why do you allow this guy to grow expanding into our communal land? That's point number
Hmm.
one, which just needs to be clarified. Saka ndo
Right.
vanhu vakafainwa nachief iwavo. Then secondly, what also needs to be clarified is when chief says kuti vana vangu ngavachidzidza mahara, he's not saying his biological children. He is saying you've deprived the livelihood
Right.
yevana vemunharaunda kuti vafudze mombe ipapo. Once wavatorera that ability yekufudza mombe kuti vaitewo livestock production, waisa chikoro chavasingakwanise kubhadhara fees. Saka ngatichiwirirana kuti vanhu vese vemunomu vanga vachibenefita nemafuro aya vachidzidza pachikoro pako at a subsidized cost. So the initial cost yechikoro was $800 per term. Then
Hmm.
this guy then said, good, okay, I accept that concession, but the fees now comes down to 150. And he is now pushing back to say, kuti, even the 150, it's still too high because vari kutotadza primary pay $40.
Right.
So
Interesting.
so I just wanted to add that, and then I'll push back, during my time. But I just wanted to say that,
Right.
just to
No,
clarify.
no, no. Yeah, yeah, quite quite interesting. Right. Chennai,
Thank
your
you.
take, on this new information.
I mean, this is good to have the clarification. So thank you for clarifying that detail in terms of Kuti, who was fined and how it all transpired. But it goes back to showing my point that if that is the system that we have in place, that it starts with Sabugu and ends with the chief, right? It's inadequate because whatever measures that the chief put in were not sufficient to regularize and register the school. The fact that people were fined along the way, and because they agreed for somebody to expand the school into their backyard, then do you see what I mean? It's still inadequate because clearly what they have, and I like the angle that, yes, let's look at how this will benefit the community, but again, it's outside of the complete jurisdiction of the chief, because it's like it's so old. It's such an ancient way of looking at things to say, okay, because these guys can't graze the land. I mean, it is basic, it's foundational from a principle perspective, but there's something so much more than that, right? Because if you're now turning something that was previously residential and it's now a commercial property, that is a school that is making money and people are coming into it and is now accommodating whatever, however, 300 people or whatever, if you count the staff and the footfall on that school, and the impact that that has on the surrounding community, that should have been a whole impact assessment done by experts, right? It shouldn't be such a simple thing. And then also ensuring that the children they have got access to the necessary amenities, not just this year and next year, but is it resilient if there's a drought? Can they still manage? Do they have access to clean water to drink? Will that continue? Because we don't, when you look at a school, you're not just considering what is going to happen today. You're looking at an establishment that is likely to exist 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So you've got to be able to prove that such an impact assessment was carried out. And here we are, we have this establishment that is a school. It is licensed, it is known, because by saying it's registered and licensed, it proves that it is known to the state, it is known to the relevant ministries. And if there's a problem, the parents know that they can rely on the Ministry of Education as a point of escalation to say, this happened to my child whilst they were in this school that has been registered and is under the oversight of the Ministry of Education.
So, so
Mm.
can I respond to that? You mentioned you raised really good points, and I'll respond to them this way. And I think you and the chief actually agree. So, the chief raised it, and I think maybe he's just in a bad messenger because he's tainted. But the chief said he could not stop this guy from building the school because the guy literally said, "Nrukuvaga pamsha pangu, you can't stop me." And that's literally what happened. Aivaka pamsha pake, and the chief could not stop him. And this, I think, if you check on Facebook or one of the social media like handles, it erupted or escalated some months back. So the chief is not new in this manner to dispute this project. But then the guy literally said, "Good, no pamsha pangu panapa. Kuvaka kwangu kuita chikoro, kwakafanire kuvaka kwangu nongeta chirugu cheuku. No one can stop me." But the chief then had leverage when the guy started to encroach into communal land because his land on its own was not enough to house the school. So that became the first point of contention, right? Then the second point of contention is this guy already has a school in Riverton. And he then said, "Good, this is an extension of that school. So it's already licensed. It does not need to be licensed again."
Ah. But
Okay,
I mean,
but
this information is now, quite, important in terms of understanding, the history and the background, or of this, because if this guy was building from his own thingy where he could justify to say "Kuzvakafanana nokuaka ngeChirugwi," but the moment that he got into the sub deals, which the government is frowning upon at the present moment, and they're saying they're cracking down on those, sub deals, whatever, and they're even threatening to demolish any structure that mushroom as a result of these sub deals. That right there is an area that is, Chennai, you are now speaking of in terms of the government coming in, or in terms of the laws, whatever it is, that we have in Zimbabwe, coming in to try and rein in, this guy, because this guy is coming from a position Yekuti, he can do whatever it is, that he wants. But
Oh,
you don't necessarily have to do that, because one side is different from the other side. I can't use, the
can I
certificate for
say
this side and say I can use it, for for that other side. I think, there's something, that is fundamentally wrong there.
I come from
um
this village. Can I say something?
Yeah,
Ndiani?
Do you want me?
Munobva ikoko?
Mama Chingura, the village Yamtangiri Yoi.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so guys, Mutangiri, Philemon Mutangiri, he grew up in that village.
Mm-hmm.
The place where he's trying to develop this school, it's the place Munda Wababake.
Ai kaka.
The other party are Gutora Kugomo, Kuruare. So when we hear people talk about grazing land, we are actually laughing. Village Yamachingure, there are no gardening. There is no grazing land. To take care of your cattle, you must leave out space from your land. Kuti ugora napo kufudza mombe dzako. To be honest, this man has been a blessing to this very poor community. Akatisira magetsi namaschools that are around. Mabohota running tape akatiitira.
Are you saying Gudizo?
Nehuma,
Are you saying Gudizo he has done some other schools in that area, as well?
yes, daitai uzeze pamasenjere paruko. He has done that. Even at my only place, akatondisabo, akatonditira nema discounts. Quite a number of guys kweduko. Tavane running water. Ndiri muvillage iyoyi. It's a
Saka,
small village.
Saka chief, Saka, Saka chief ni vari kunyeba here kuti izvonenge.
Oh, chief is a trickster, my well, no, anyway.
But Uncle, Uncle,
Look,
Uncle Jed,
look at his background. Look at his history. The chief has been doing it. Tarisai Pavandovaka, chief Mushawa, izvozvi.
Alright, sasa buku. Taurai tizwe
That,
buku.
that is
Mukoma
where
one is vachimomirai.
that is where we are going wrong.
Yeah,
Where
taurai.
we are going wrong.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah. I know other one who is from Matenganyika. Let's end up there.
Ndokwa murinye mu village ya Mutangiri chakakura tose.
Yeah, it's all right. It's okay. So ndakatombokirasha naye kuchiredzi murinye neachaita logistic yachitakura nzimbe
Okay.
akubloka kuti hanzi dzisina kutakurwa nevanhu vezanu hadzipindi. Ndikati hai ndomurwere ndikazomublokawo futi ikoko kumachona. So I'm not favoring him, but what I will talk, people would think I'm just favoring him. The procedure when you are building a school or a church, you can have a church on your homestead, but to build a church, you need approval from the grassroots, from the local people. First, they have to approve you, then the council approves and give you a land plan where your church or a school go, or any other business where it goes. They will give that land. It will be in the land plan at council, wherever at local council. So that is the procedure, which is that school owner did not do, to go and take that procedure to say, I want to build a school, go to the community, then liaise with Sabuk whether they do that deal or whatever. Then the Sabuk then goes to the chief, and the chief then goes to the council. And if the council approves to say, yes, we can do that, we allow you to do that, they come and peg to say, this is the map of your school. And then it's finished. Then that owner, you have now to take the relevant licenses, and the school get built if everything goes according to plan and according to the licenses, and the council also approves and the chiefs agree. Because at the times chief can only say kuti aiwa paruware pakuda kuvakira apa panoera pakaita zvakati. It's enough in in traditional leaders act kuti that one is enough to stop you to do your business there. So that is where that school owner did not do. Where it goes wrong again, the school owner managed to find the sub who did the do allow it, because he did not follow the procedure. He was good at that one. But where it becomes a problem is when he asked him to say, allow some children to go there for less. I think that one won't be, you can't have such a contract. It's one of those things where people can just do it verbally, to say, I will do that, but you can't have something where you can then have it binding to say, every year, children from local will go to your school at a reasonable price, like that.
No,
So
you are having a wrong story, my brother.
no, let me finish. I was just quiet
Yeah,
when you.
yeah.
I was quiet.
Mukoma Mira